다 숨겼어요.
문을 열고 있어요. 와, 무자비합니다.
방어도 안 된 저글링을 최종 병기급으로.
야, 저기까지.
본진이 드랍십의 쑥대 맛이 돼가는 과정에 공격을 통해서 상황을
그렇죠.
뚫어요.
이제 무자비하게 자원줄을 무너뜨리면서 1위로 8강 진출. 화가 좀 났어요. 벌써 들어가요. 배를 불린 채 들어가죠.
나 상대로 이번 전략 이렇게 보는 거야?
와, 이거 잡아내면 1군 어떡하지?
뭐야 벌처가 왜 이렇게 많아?
노련하면 대명장 완벽한 반짝이로 8강의 주인공이 됐습니다.
너무 좋아요. 경기도 좀 잘 된 것 같고 A조에서 2등 이클립스라는 맵도 이번에 느낌 좋은.
What is up, everybody? We are back here with day 2 in the round of 8, Jaedong versus Light. A very exciting ZVT. The old school versus, I wouldn't say the new school for Terran, but certainly the kind of modern established Terran that we all know and love here, Tastosis.
That's right. Light is the best macro Terran that there is in the world. He is just unbelievable. All Terrans consider him the best, right? When we're not really considering Flash. And he has the most standard, straightforward style. I would say that this is literally the worst matchup for Jaedong that you could find. I can't think of anything that greater exploits Jaedong's weaknesses than straightforward god tier macro play from SK Terran, which is what Light. Even when Flash was winning all his championships, we were like, yeah, but Light has the same level TVZ basically. So I look at this and I say, if Jaedong can win this, he's actually back in his old form, because this is, I can't think of a worse match for him.
It's going to be massive if he can win here. I don't know that that's going to happen. If it does, it is the hypest thing ever. We did have, by the way, one of the best of 7s ever with our Protoss player best, advancing versus Queen 4-3. One of the funnest series I've cast in a long time.
Yeah, it was it's my favorite best of 7, I think, ever.
Yeah, you know, Jaedong versus Light could be the worst best of 7 in this group. I don't mean to lower everybody's expectations, but I think this is a very Light-favored matchup.
Yeah.
I think Jaedong would have fared better against literally everybody else in the group, as weird as that sounds.
100%.
I think he would have had a better shot against even Rush.
Yeah.
PVZ is probably, ZVT is probably his worst matchup right now. In that, especially going up versus a very robust macro Terran, there just aren't a lot of weaknesses here for Light. He's going to look really scary in the mid game. Jaedong, if he's trying to do something sneaky or cheesy, it's going to have a hard time getting past Light.
Really?
Light's a player where you can't really hide your third base in a clever way or do a sort of weird tech. He just sort of Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, knocks it away, and then goes and kills you.
Yeah, he's literally the Terran that I study for those types of things, where it's like, oh, the Zerg made a third hatch and they have some speedlings out. How do you deal with that? Well, interview first.
Hello and welcome to Jaedong vs Light, the second round of 8 match of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot 6, stronger, better, clean energy. In the beautiful display that went neck and neck yesterday, Best claimed victory in the first match of the round of 8 and continues on to the semi-finals. You're waiting for the match that will decide Best's round of 4 opponent. Let's meet and have a word with Jaedong and Light. Hi. First up, Jaedong, advancing through the round of 16 in first place. Once the bracket was drawn, I understand you reacted saying there's never an easy way out. How did you feel when Light was decided as your opponent? He is a strong opponent, that's for sure. But I think I'm strong as well. It's not an opponent I can't beat by any means. I think that if I play my game, I have sufficient chances of winning. I'm sure you will have put your skills to the test as you practiced for this. Was prep easy? Not so easy?
아무래도 이게 테란전이
Playing versus Terran isn't easy in an extended series.
그래서 준비는
I did
많이
prepare a lot.
했는데 뭐 오늘의
But I
제가
think
어떻게
it all
플레이하느냐에
depends on
좀
how I managed to
달린
play
것 같아요.
today instead.
이재호 선수도 제가 잠깐 여쭤봤는데
Light,
컨디션이
I asked
최상은
you
아니다라고
briefly, and
말씀을 하셔서
you
좀
said you were
걱정은
not in
걱정이 되기도
top shape,
했습니다.
which
아무래도
got me a
상대를
little
좀 의식할
worried.
수밖에 없는
You're going up against an
상황이기
opponent you
때문에
have to be
긴장하셨을
wary
것
against.
같은데요.
Maybe that's
이재동
what got you
선수의
nervous.
활약을 앞두고
How are you
계신
feeling
소감은
ahead of
좀
this round of
어떠신가요?
8 match against Jaedong?
일단 제가 개인적인
Well, let's start with,
자신감과
regardless of my
저보다
confidence,
많이
my
안 좋아서
TVZ in tournaments
그 점에서
hasn't
많이
been good at all.
걱정했는데
That's cause for concern.
준비 많이 해와서
But I prepared a lot, and
아주
while my
좋지
condition
않지만
isn't great,
괜찮은 것 같아서
it's okay.
좋은 게임
I should be able to play a good match.
사실 이재호 선수는 지난 시즌에 이어서
It can't be
이번
easy
시즌도
having to
8강에서
prepare to play a best of 7
김민철
against a
선수에
strong
이어서
Zerg in the
강력한
round of 8
적을
for
상대로
2
실전전을
seasons in a
준비하는
row.
게
Sulky
사실
last
참
time,
쉽지
and now
않겠다라는
Jaedong.
생각이 들기도 했습니다.
Can I
준비가
ask you
어땠는지 좀 여쭤봐도
how
될까요?
preparation went?
확실히 이게 다전제를
Preparing for an
준비하다
extended
보면은
series like this,
많이 하면 할수록
the more you do it, the
생각도
more you
많아지고
end up
말리다
hitting a
보니까
mental
이번에는
block.
좀 경기 수를
So
많이
rather than
하기보다는
playing
생각을
more,
많이 하는 데 집중을
I focused
했었고요.
on thinking more.
이번 시즌은 그래도 그렇게
And having prepared like that, the results weren't bad this season. I have certain expectations for today.
8강 경기를 통해서도 확실히 7전제에서는
And with how the best of 7 match went yesterday, players will be fully aware of how important it is to have a general plan for the entirety of the extended series. In the case of Jaedong, it's been a while since you played an extended series, but it's also your first time playing a best of 7, so preparing an overall strategy would have been demanding. How did it go?
반짝이는
An overall plan?
어렵죠.
It's tough,
어려운데
right? I
저도 잘 못해요,
can't do it
반짝이.
myself either.
오늘 일단 뭐 해봐야 될
Today,
것
I'll
같긴
just
한데
have to go for it. I mean,
많은 말을
rather than
하기보다는
talking the talk,
게임으로
I'll
보여드리겠습니다.
walk the walk.
게임 안에서 경기 안에서
I'll
나의
leave
손에
everything to my
맡기겠다는
hands
걸
in the
이런 좀
matches
각오가
themselves,
느껴지는 이재동 선수의
says
답변이에요.
Jaedong.
이재원 선수는 좀 고무적인
If I can give you some
상황을
words of
말씀드리면
encouragement,
우승을
like,
하셨던 시기
the picture that's being
시즌
painted here
비슷하게
is very
흘러갔다는
similar to the
이야기들이
time
또
you had your
나오고
championship
있습니다.
run in
당시에도
season 13.
8강에서 저그를
That
만났고
time you also
4강에서
met a Zerg in the round of 8 and a
프로토스를
Protoss in the round of 4.
승리를
If
하신다면
you were to win today, your
프로토스예요.
next opponent
이런
is a
평행
Protoss
이론에
again.
대한 본인의 생각은
What's your
어떤가요?
take on
기분
this
좋은 징크스가
parallel
될까요?
theory? Is this a lucky omen?
일단 기분 좋은 징크스
A happy jinx for sure, the way I see it, a lucky omen.
그거대로 바람이 좀
I really
이루어졌으면
hope it continues.
좋습니다. 자, 그렇다면
Got it.
실전 4선승제에서
I'd also like to know
선수가
where
생각하는
in this best of 7 the
승부처가
players
어디가
think
될지도
lies the
궁금하네요.
decider. Jaedong,
선수는 어디가
when do
될
you
거라고
think it'll be
예상하시나요?
decided?
매 세트가
Every set
승차
is a
아닐까요?
decider set, isn't that so?
예상하는 세트 스코어는
Oh,
이재동
so what
선수
score do you
어떨까요?
predict then?
제가
If I win,
뭐 이긴다면
Perhaps
한
a
4대
4-1 or a 4-2?
Oh,
I see.
답변에서
I sense an air of
왠지
confidence
자신감이 좀
in that
느껴집니다.
answer.
이재호 선수의
Light
한숨이
is
좀
starting to
깊어지는
breathe
것 같은데
heavier and heavier.
본인이 생각하는 예상 스코어와
Light, what is your
스코어
prediction for the
어디라고
score and the
생각하시나요?
decider set?
저는 일단 1경기가 가장
I think the first set is the most important,
저도 이긴다면
and if I end up winning, I'm thinking it'll be a 4-2.
두 선수에게 묘한
Both players'
긴장감과 현장에서
anxiousness
전운이
permeates
감도는 것
the studio.
같습니다.
Let's hear our
아까
players'
두 선수의
final
각오를
remarks.
청해 듣도록
Jaedong,
하겠습니다. 이재동 선수
a word,
말씀해
please.
주시죠.
일단 많이
With
준비한
how
만큼
much I prepared,
오늘 다
I will let it all
쏟아내도록
show today.
기대하겠습니다. 이재동
Can't
선수.
wait. Light,
저도 준비한 거 최대한
I too will
잘
try and
해가지고
show what I
재밌는
prepared
경기
as best as I can and play a
두
fun
선수의
match.
멋진 8강 대결
Looking forward to a
기대하도록
great round of 8
하겠습니다.
match from the
감사합니다.
both of you.
고맙습니다.
Thanks for the interview. Thank you.
더 강력하게,
You're
더
waiting for
단단하게
Jaedong
담백한
versus
에너지
Light,
핫식스 더
the
프로와
second
함께하는
round of 8
ASL
match of ASL Season 19, done in partnership with Hot 6, stronger, better, clean energy.
기다리고 있습니다. 과연 어떤
Which
선수가
one of
이번
our
시즌
players will
4강으로의
continue
도전을
onwards
이어나갈
to the
수
round of
있을지
4?
첫 번째 대결
Let's kick
지금부터
things
함께
off
만나보시죠.
and find out.
All right, so our map list: Dominator, Deja Vu, Radeon, Polestar, Metropolis, Death Valley, Eclipse. Ugh. That's kind of funny to see. Yeah, so you can kind of see Jaedong's plans here because currently, like, Light would be super happy to see this. Death Valley and Eclipse. Notice how he picked Death Valley before Eclipse? Light actually thinks Eclipse is the most Zerg favored map. right now. So the fact that Jaedong didn't pick that up early shows that he doesn't really have the Defiler-based late game, like super defense style down. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's killing Light right now. Light went through a whole little like villain arc maybe 6-8 months ago where he was cheesing every TVZ because Sulky was shutting everything down. But yeah, Jaedong doesn't seem to be looking towards doing that same type of thing.
I'm curious how the first couple games go. I think when we see how Jaedong is looking in game 1, assuming we get to like a normal mid game, that's where we're going to have a very good idea of what this matchup should look like. Light has been probably the most consistent TVZ player in ASL. And Flash has been gone for a lot of seasons, so I'm going to exclude him for the sake of talking about Season 19. He's just got a very straightforward, good TVZ. I think he's also built it out to be a little bit more experimental and incorporate a couple additional factors that make it harder to deal with.
Yeah,
Jaedong has thrived on having really punishing aggression that in some ways sort of looked like the success that Sulky's had now. Sulky wins a lot of mid-game fights where it just doesn't feel like Terran's really supposed to be on the map, apparently. Jaedong used to have a lot of games like that, but it was a lot of counterattacks and pins. And, you know, with Sulky's, I'm almost at a loss of words to even describe it because it's a lot of just kind of flanks and surrounds and identifying when the Marine count is low enough that you can have an overwhelming amount of damage.
Yeah.
Where I think Jaedong's was these more precision-based strikes or counterattacks. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Tastosis?
yeah. So Jaedong, and you're definitely right on the analysis. Like Jaedong has very sharp Zerg versus Terran. He's looking for the punishes. You said it well when he's looking more for a counterattack than a unit surround. Whereas Sulky's like just pure fundamental play is the best. Like there's not a weak point, right? Like he looks at it and he knows when he can win, and then he does that. Whereas Jaedong is like looking for a weakness rather than just playing like the middle line perfectly. It's like if you're also a StarCraft 2 fan, Sulky is very similar to Serral, where it just looks completely unbeatable and it's just insanely hard to overcome. And then Jaedong is just like a very much more aggressive Zerg player looking for his moments, and that's why Light is the worst matchup, because a well-played SK Terran doesn't have those weak moments, but has weak moments because it hasn't really taken risks against a player like Sulky, who's just unbreakable. So Jaedong isn't unbreakable. That's the problem going up against Light, whereas when you put him against a more technical player, a player like, for instance, in the last round, Speed, he was able to 2-0 Speed, because Speed kind of plays more on the edge, he's looking for damage, and that's where Jaedong can actually punish you. But against Light, who's going to have enough Marines and medics and enough missile turrets, like, I think if Light just plays 7 standard macro SK Terran games in a row, the odds of Jaedong winning is like 1%. Like, it's just like I can't see him doing it.
You know, the best of 7 format, it is a double-edged sword, right? In one sense, you get more games like we had in the previous series, right? We got 7 amazing games. On the other hand, it's even harder to imagine Jaedong winning a best of 7 compared to a best of 5 or a best of 3, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, like it or not, we've talked about this from time to time. I don't know how interesting this is for people that are watching, but when it comes to drama and suspense, we've always thought the best of 5 in some ways is a sweet spot because it's enough games that you get an idea of where the players are at, but it's not so many games that it drags it out. But yeah, the world where Jaedong wins 4 games out of 7, that's a really tough job, you know?
Yeah, like, the thing is, you can peel a game. Anyone at a high level can peel a game off of anyone else. Like, you come in with the right strat, you hit the right situation, but it's just almost impossible to do that like 4 times. You know, it's just like to have strategic victories where you've tricked your opponent enough times. It really takes a lot to do that. And that's part of the reason I think why Shine is super up and down. Like, he didn't even make it this season, and then other seasons he looks like the best Zerg. It's a volatile way to play. So, the strategic wins are going to be hard to win a best of 7 with, and, the counter-attacking type of style of Jaedong is maybe going to flounder here. I don't want to, again, be too negative about it, but Light is, he's a brick wall to most Zergs.
That's a good way to describe it. He's a brick wall. He's an impregnable fortress. It's just like hard to kind of. He's a little bit like the killer in a lot of these old scary movies where the young attractive woman is just running the whole time.
Yeah.
And the killer is like walking with a knife.
Yes.
With the mask on. And no matter how fast she runs, it feels like he's just around the corner and nothing she can do can stop him.
There's inevitability.
That's a little bit what Light feels like.
Yeah.
There's an inevitability with Light that's going to be tough. And also Light, even when you get to Defiler Tech, he's really good.
Yeah.
It's not like that's where the game. It's for a lot of Terran players, Defiler Tech is sort of where the game falls off. And, they're playing maybe like a 4-6 matchup versus an even matchup at that point.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, we're going to hop into this game. Jaedong versus Light. The winner goes on to face Best in the semifinals. Okay, Jaedong in the top left. And Light here in the bottom left. As always, guys, consider signing up and supporting us at the Patreon, patreon.com/ASL English.
Yeah, you guys have been so fantastic. And, ASL, if yesterday's group tells us anything, man, ASL is in a great spot. Brood Wars is in a great spot. So thank you guys for checking out that Patreon and helping keep it alive.
Yeah, man, yesterday was such a special day. Compare yesterday's games to any esport now, and I'm like, we're doing good. The game's in a good spot. Packed audience, by the way, here tonight. Jaedong really does basically always fill up the studio.
Yes.
No matter how many seats there are, people will show up. He may be, in some ways, now the most nostalgic player.
Yeah.
Even maybe more than Boxer. Even maybe... I know that Flash, people kind of like... They might lose their minds here if you say that, but like Flash, if you're a StarCraft fan...
No one's nostalgic
like,
for Flash.
Now? Yeah, you're right. But I guess what I'm saying is like, for when people look at the past and they feel a certain way, I think now they associate it with Jaedong. The way that they used to with Slayer's Boxer.
I think that's true for
example.
the English-speaking scene. I don't think it's true for the Korean scene. The Korean scene is still pretty wild about Boxer, but your point is well served, I think. He's like the guy everyone wants to do well, including me. Yeah. Like, we've been kind of talking down about him, but here's the thing. Like, the counterattack style, like, this is a best of 7. You might peel a game off Light with a counterattack type style. You might peel a game off of Light with a strategy type style. But to get those wins, you probably have to get a couple losses. And then suddenly we're adding up and like it doesn't work out. What we need to see from Jaedong here is he needs to secure a third base, not waste units, get into his Defiler Tech, and then start blocking drops nonstop. And if he can play that type of game, he can beat Light. It's just like Light is that brick wall for most Zergs. Sulky, though, a fourth dimensional being, the brick wall literally doesn't do anything. It's like a piece of paper to him. He steps over it.
He's Nightcrawler. He goes through the wall.
Yeah.
So we have a Marine moving out. A lot of times we see, PVZ, they send the Zealot out, they run it back. The Marine is kind of the same idea. You have to make Lings. That'll be one less drone. And then he just plays it safe. So Light going for the command center expand here off of one Marine. Jaedong has his Overlord parked over the little high ground area, so he can stay there and spy on the second base. Jaedong's going to go for a layer, and so this is going to be, the most standard tech of TVZ. We're waiting to see where the third hatch is going to go. And like I was saying before, we've had a lot more creativity where a third base is played.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, right before Artosis, long before Artosis moved back to Canada, or moved to Canada, I should say. You're not actually Canadian. But there was a period where everybody just took another main.
Yeah.
And it was like a very straightforward textbook approach. And now Zergs have gotten pretty interesting about where they take thirds. They'll take counterintuitive bases and try to hide it and try to keep the Terran guessing. But like we said before the game started, Jaedong, as crafty as he is, Light is so good at deviations from the norm, and he's still perfect at straight-up textbook TVZ. This is going to be tough here for Jaedong.
And one thing to mention, this particular game, Light has gone for a Turax Academy rush behind his wall. So if you take your third base on location, and he knows where that is, this is the best build against that. And Jaedong is doing that, but he's taking kind of an off-brand third. That's a tricky little third base right there. So in these positions, you'll normally think it's the one to the left of this that Zerg has taken. So that's a tricky one, because you might think it's the one to the left of this, and then if it's not that, it might be the other main, and then it might be that. So that's like probably the third most likely third base to be taken.
Exactly. So this is maybe 2 scans away and a really difficult Marine scout away from being spotted. Now, looking at that, it makes perfect sense. By the way, the Marines and Medic are going to push out across the map. He might be able to force another sunken colony. They have to make 2 versus this, right?
You're supposed to, but this is a slightly smaller force because he left a fire bat at home so he could immediately walk out. So you are down like 1 unit, but yeah, 1 sunken here is super risky if you only have 4 lings. If you make like 8 lings, okay, you're totally fine. So he might actually have some lings hatching, but you notice how he's kind of running around it. He's just trying to stall it out a little bit. So as long as you just stall it slightly, because this only has like a very sharp timing before mutas come out. You know, you have to move out at about 5 minutes, and then you have like 1 move across the map and 1 attack before the mutas come in and change the dynamic.
So the mutas are out. Third base is up for Zerg. The turrets are going to be finishing in a very light style, like right on time. Like literally a few seconds before the mutas can get there. Now Jaedong may try to loop around to the main base. The main base is pretty vulnerable to attacks. It's a big open area. Oh my god, he's going to kill that right before it finishes. Nicely done.
Ooh. You got to be careful not to have your mutas caught. Notice how Light is kind of zoning in the front here. He wants to keep the mutas out of his base. Behind the mineral patches is a hard place to defend. But if you try to get back there when the Marines are here, then the Marines can counterattack you super, super quickly. So Jaedong has to be on top of where does he want to go with the mutas, and does he have a sunken count that matches that? Because, like, let's say he wants to dive in, because this is not enough turrets to stop mutas, right? Like, this is enough to delay them.
Right.
But if he wants to do that, he might have to do things like add 3 sunkens and then go in. Because if he doesn't, Light can counterattack and possibly kill him.
There's a technique to making the mutas attack. I don't know if you know it, Artosis. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But, like, hold position makes the glaives bounce in every direction, right?
They spray if you hold position, but you have to get slightly closer. So you generally take a bit more damage. But, like, basically if everything's damaged, I believe it's hold position that people use to spray stuff down.
Right. And if not, if you were to A-click, the glaives all bounce in the same chain. So when you see the glaives fan out in a bunch of different directions, that's hold position. I think, if I remember correctly.
I'm fairly certain you're right about that.
Micro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what it feels like.
And is there anything you can do with patrol? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know like the specific micro because I never micro mutas, but I like the 2 main things are them selecting what they want to attack, and then the hold position where they have to get a little bit closer, but it deals a lot of damage.
With certain units, there's slightly different behaviors with the attacks, with attack on the ground or on the unit versus hold position versus patrol. Like, for whatever reason, patrol on some units, they respond like a millisecond faster. And that can be handy. Like, if you're microing Dragoons away from Marines or tanks, sometimes patrol is better. Sometimes hold position's a little bit better to make them fire the shot a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
These technical things we don't really talk about that much in the game. By the way, the Den and the Queen's Nest at the third base, very interesting.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do because it makes it harder for Terran to time whatever they want to do if they haven't found that third base. We really should check where those scans are at. I really wish they would. Okay, and they do. Okay, so see, he actually did check that third that I was suggesting, and it looks like he actually probably checked the one right next to it before the other main. So maybe he was thinking that was more likely for Jaedong. One thing to note is the armory is being made, so this is going to be a Valkyrie opener. And the thing about Valkyrie openers right now, they're no longer macro builds; they're timing attack builds. Like I've seen no one successfully play a Valkyrie opener into SK Terran and win a Hive game. I've seen it 0 times in the last like 6 to 8 months. It's like you move out with your Valkyries, you have this limited window to bust everything. Like the window goes slightly beyond lurkers. Once lurkers are out, you can still do things like get drop ships and do some damage, but there's no long-term potential with the build right now.
Yeah, I mean, the idea with the Valkyries is that you're going to strong-arm the mutas, and they can't really do anything, and then you can win with a push or with a bust. But the problem is you're not investing in maybe the most important unit as you enter late game in TVZ, which is a Science Vessel. The Science Vessel will give you, beyond detection and some good D-matrixes, which can save fights entirely in your favor, it gives you irradiates that you can cast regularly. And pretty much everything that you fight in this matchup, except for Ultralisks, in fact, I think literally everything you fight, oh my god, nice shots on that, will die in one irradiate. So you kill a Lurker, you kill a Mutalisk or more.
Devourers don't die in one irradiate. Tasteless.
Oh my god, why are you even allowed to cast the game? Tasteless.
But yeah.
But they get Guardians, let's think
everything.
Everything else, everything. Yeah. So if you have accumulated a lot of vessels, you're extremely powerful. But you might be harder to deal with in the mid-game with the Valkyrie tech. So
yes,
he's got Lurkers out. Remember that hold position Lurker is maybe the strongest versus this style of play because the Terran has to push, but they could push in blind and lose everything.
Now, we've said a lot of things about... Oh, okay, I want to talk about that in a second, but we've said a lot of things about how Jaedong generally... doesn't get into the Defiler tech all that well. He's played an excellent game here. He's actually well ahead, in my opinion, right now. The Valkyrie timing push doesn't have a lot it can do. There's like 4 lurkers here, which that you don't want to attack. The spread is pretty good from Jaedong. He's got plenty of lurkers in his natural. He's getting into consume right now. So this particular game looks really good for Jaedong. And if he can keep up games that look like this... Hey, maybe we were completely wrong. He's really fixed up all the holes he had before.
Well, the Valkyries, they may all go down. Good save there by the Marines. That was insane. But it just doesn't seem like he's actually getting anything done. And Artosis, you are 1,000% right. Jaedong looks great.
He looks fantastic.
He looks much stronger than I expected. And he's basically gotten to that Defiler tech. The Valkyries are all being shut down. Looks like he's going to just go ahead and commit to these. What is it, 3 left, actually? Damn, that was rough.
He's made a ton of Valkyries at this point. I actually think Light might be going back to an old strat he made a couple years ago. This looks like it might be a 2-star port Valkyrie mech switch, which we haven't seen in years. It looks like that to me, because he was getting an upgrade on the factory, and there's no reason to get upgrades on the factory, really, after Defiler tech is out. Now, it could just be that he wants to play defensive mines. Maybe he goes defensive mines and he tries to get into some other production. But I think there's a reasonable chance here he stops. We'll be able to know if we see the eBay again. That'll actually tell us if we go to the main base. If eBay is blinking, he's going SK. If it's not, he's going for a mech switch. Yep, it's a mech switch. There it is.
Yep, there it is.
Dude, that is cool. Wow, this is a very old strategy. Like, Light made this basically himself, where you open exactly like you've seen here, 2-star port Valkyrie, you dominate the skies, you move around with your Marine Medic, but you don't do anything with it, and then you go into heavy mech, and there's like a lot of ideas where the Valkyries make it so you don't have to make Goliaths, they can kill Overlords, and they kind of prevent Queens.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, so far he's doing a great job. You can see that Jaedong was prepared if there was like a double or even going up to 4 drop ships that would fly into the main and try to close the game out. He was in a very defensive posture, but the reality on the ground is very different for the Terran. Look at the mini-map. If you didn't know this game that well, but we described how each of the races worked, you would think that the red player is Zerg, just looking at the mini-map.
Yeah, I think so. That is insane coverage between the mines, the patrolling armies, the barracks flying out. Light is doing this fantastically. Like, again, he's the best in the world at this. He made this strat. Like, I haven't seen it forever, but I'm so excited to see how this one goes. It fell off completely. It, like, fell off a bridge. Like, everyone was doing it for, like, 2 weeks, and it screwed up the ASL qualifiers. You guys might remember a season where we had very few Zergs. It's because every Terran was doing this build. But it just kind of disappeared. Everyone got good against it. You know, and there's, like, a lot of things that you do to be good against this. Like, you do actually keep on top of the Valkyries. Like, if you see them, you plague them. Because he goes around and picks off Overlords. And this actually shows that when he was walking around with the Valkyries before, remember when he was killing Overlords and, like, losing them to Scourge? That's actually, it's closer to, like, playing almost like a PVZ or something, where the Valkyries actually, one of the best things they can do is to pick off Overlords.
Right. And then they serve a very different role. And look, Zerg doesn't know where the Terran's at all. You know, a lot of times you see the mech switch, and there's still Overlords on the map, and you're able to spot mines, but with the Valkyries out like this, you can't do anything. You don't know where mines are, you don't even know if you're being counterattacked, and you play this really oppressive style. Now, this may be the game. If Zerg can't salvage this position, like,
dude,
it's super bad. These mines are going to go off. The Hydras actually can't hit some of them because they're underneath the dark swarm cloud. Lurker comes in here from behind. He kills the hatchery that really mattered, the one that was planted at the resource gathering location.
Yeah, the radiates that he had there were actually super clutch to be allow him to get up there and get that done. And Jaedong will clear this, but Light's already on 4 base, and he's going into a 5th. And when you're going mech, if you get a tempo advantage like this, mech becomes really strong. That's why the mech switches are good as opposed to, like, opening mech, because you have this type of sometimes aggressive ability with the Marine Medic while you set your mech up.
Yeah, it's a very tough thing to handle because Zerg has to be so good at turtling to survive the SK style that then when I guess this isn't SK, this is with Valkyries, but you get the idea. You know, when Marines and medics are pressuring you on the map, you have to try to play super safe and defensive, but then that frees the map up for the Terran to lift off all the barracks, throw down a ton of factories, and of course out-expand the Zerg. This is one of the most unnatural things, and I think all the matchups of StarCraft, is the fact that Terran can completely change their tech and take the map. And then turtle. Like, you don't have to push. Like, I think when people see mech and they think of TVZ specifically because of the unit comp you see here, and a lot of times you watch these pushes come out and there's nothing the Protoss can do. Weirdly, a lot of the games with mech, the Terran's kind of just staying back and mining a crazy amount of resources and getting a crazy amount of value by having tanks everywhere. Because tanks mute a lot of the strength of the Dark Swarm Clouds. Anything that's above ground is going to take damage from the splash from the tanks. And so, even now, you know, these Lurkers, they've gotten close, but if they unburrow again, they're going to get shelled once more.
Yeah, he's not quite making his way in there, and Light is just expanding everywhere right now, which is, it's going to be hard for Jaedong. Jaedong needs to start attacking into different types of locations. Also, like, he's got to keep track of what the anti-air looks like, because an important thing you have to do, if Terran, like, overcommits on ground and runs out of that anti-air, like, you do need to be able to pull the trigger and, like, grab some Mutalisks to pick off siege tanks. That's, like, a really common way people can lose with mech. Is we already saw the 2 Valkyries were plagued earlier. I don't know if those got repaired. I know he killed a couple vessels. There's still 1 or 2 vessels left. But, like, you might want to think about that at some point if you realize that he doesn't have sufficient anti-air.
So, like we were seeing here, this kind of concludes that concept, right? It's very hard to push into anything with the Lurkers. The mines become really difficult to handle. It's funny, Hydras, a lot of times they're the least good unit in TVZ. They definitely have their moments, and we're seeing it here now. because the Hydras are the only thing that can really traverse the map and actually pick off mines. Oh my god, he's got so many queens.
Yeah, Hydras are kind of like a funny unit in the matchup. They go really well with Defilers because they have great range and everything. Like, you Plague stuff and Defiler... I mean, Hydras just kill them right off. But in situations like this, just walking around, they have a bit of a hard time. In fact, even a mine hitting there. Yeah, there was a lot of queens that just came out. And this was one of the things I always kind of thought would be cool about the double Valkyrie, Starport Valkyrie style, is... You know, the queens come in pretty clumped up. The Valkyries have decent potential to stop broodlings. But, yeah, the one thing about the queens that he's made here that I find weird, oh, man, his economy is not very good, Jaedong here. Like, he's on 4 base, okay, but I feel like, I don't know if I like the queens here completely. They might end up working out perfectly. It's just, it feels a little bit weird when he went for them, because he's, like, busy attacking with Hydra Lurker, Defiler, and he's, like, losing a lot of units, he's not getting a lot done, and then he's also making queens. It feels like a bit of a stretch to me, but I'll withhold judgment on it at the moment.
I do want to mention, we have talked about EMP versus queens, and I think it's kind of like the Dark Archon situation in PvZ, where I'm like, well, that will just beat the mutas. Right? Maelstrom just beats mutas. When they send the queens out, if you can get 1 EMP, I think that you've won the game. If you like EMP a group of queens, they've lost their timing.
Probably.
But we just don't have it, and I think there's not a good reason other than that players haven't built it into their play style. And remember that StarCraft is more than just an intellectual game, which I think a lot of times people kind of chalk it up to like an intellectual game with APM, but like the amount of APM that you have to have in a late game situation like this and the number of tasks that you're juggling, it's hard to end up incorporating some of these concepts like EMP.
Yes. There's a lot of units in the game that could get more use. Newbies always think that ghosts, it's like a meme. Oh, use ghosts for this. It's like, no one's good enough to do that, bro. Like, in theory, the ghost is good. No one's good enough to do it.
Right.
That includes Flash.
Because what they see... They see this like ability here, and they're like, "Why not do this?" And some of it's cost efficiency too. Like, you know, a tank as an example is so much easier to use, and you can kind of set it and forget it compared to like a ghost, for instance. And a lot of the ghost stuff too, it's like, well, you're gonna get nukes. Okay, well then we have to tech to the nukes, and then we got what about lockdowns? Well, it's really hard to lock down a bunch of different things. You know.
Yeah. So Light has secured a ridiculous amount of bases. 6 base mech is insanity. He's maxed out right now. There are about 12 queens over on the right-hand side of the map that he hasn't really utilized yet. Good amount of Goliaths in here. So it's not exactly the opening was the same as that old strategy that I was talking about earlier, but the fact that he's gone into heavy science vessel is not something that we really have seen with mech yet. There's been science vessels with mech, but he's continually producing them. And he's utilizing the Goliaths to kind of protect them from Scourge and whatnot.
Okay, this is sick. The queens come in and they wipe the tanks. Every time you see a group of tanks die and the player's going mech, getting really bad for them. He still has plenty more. Light, by the way, being close to maxed out, is pushing out. I don't know where the rest of his army is because I feel like this is just such a small amount of units. So Light's going to lose his fight in the middle. Remember that Zerg has been on 4 bases for most of this game. There are 2 fresh bases, one in the main at the center right at 3 o'clock. The other is just outside the main in the natural.
Yeah.
And is in range of being pushed, but we don't see that happening just yet. Am I crazy? Where is the supply for Light? I know he has 173. I don't feel like I see where the most of it is.
It's spread defensively right now. And he has a ton of SCVs.
Yeah.
I bet you he has 70 SCVs right now. It's kind of insane.
He might have more.
Economy is. Yeah, he definitely is mining well at the moment, but I'm not entirely sure. You know, he has so many bases that the queens are doing well, but he's still got real fighting chances just based on how much he's mining. He can just reproduce everything. He's on 3-2 upgrades, which is insanity. Like, Jaedong is definitely behind as far as economy goes, but he has, you know, with those 2 new expansions, he's definitely in this game still.
He's going to drive away these Hydras here with the tanks that are remaining. You know, if Jaedong could stay in this game, by the way, this is like, what, a 23-minute game? This is much more dramatic and much crazier than I thought Game 1 was going to be. I was much more fearful that Jaedong might just get smothered before Hive Tech, and it's like, oh man, Light is so good. But in this map, it's been split for a long time. Neither side's made any real headway over here. It looks like he's going to attempt to push down here. This could prompt a counterattack from Jaedong. If he can just get over there and kill the Nidus, I mean, he could do a ton of damage, but it looks like first Light wants to come back here and deal with this.
Ooh, gets a couple lurkers under that Darkstorm. Very annoying indeed. The Vessels are chasing down the Queens right now. No real anti-air there for Jaedong. I think that is the one thing he really could have fixed this game, is a few more Scourge around to prevent moves like this. This type of thing should be punished every time. But right now, Light pushing in towards this main. If he can kill this main off, that looks to me like it will turn into a Light victory almost immediately.
Yeah, but I think Jaedong should be able to hold this. I mean,
think
there's a
so.
Nidus here. I think one Nidus pops out, and a Dark Swarm comes down there. And it seems like it's hard for Light. Oh, wow, where are the Wraiths? What are your thoughts on that? I've never seen this used before, ever.
Yeah, he's just trying to do anything he can to get rid of these Queens, and you can see it's a little bit difficult. I'm surprised that he went for the Queens. The thing is, his economy is so big, he can kind of do anything. Anything he thinks might end up working. And he comes in, and he's actually getting some pickoffs on these Queens. You know, if you make 4 Wraiths and they kill 4 Queens, you're super happy about that. That's a very, it's very, like, I've seen people try this. That's actually, like, back when we first returned to Remastered and Nyokin was still playing and showed, like, he showed me some of the initial mech switches he was doing. He was trying some of this half-map, make Wraith, pick off Queen type stuff, but it never has really caught on.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen it. By the way, Light has Wraith Micro as good as a Zerg's Muta Micro, if you watch.
Yeah.
The way he's able to make them move and eke out damage, it's kind of crazy. This is going to force a lot of the Overlords to come together. We're running out of map, by the way. There's the upper left vacant base and the bottom right vacant base, and one clearly goes to Zerg while the other clearly goes to Terran. This is getting wild. I mean, Terran's going to try to push right up over here to the mineral-only base. Not a high-value target, but maybe the territory around here is going to be vital because you can cut them off from attacking that whole left side of the map.
This is a little bit brutal here. We probably do need to see a Plague, by the way, onto those Wraiths. That's one of the reasons why stuff like that sometimes doesn't end up working. But he's attacking in. Okay, here come the Queens. The Wraiths unable to stop this. They come in so quickly and cast a ton of Broodlings. The Cloaked Wraith's going to go after them, but you have to be careful around the Defilers. If you get a Plague on those Wraiths, they become useless. Like, one Hydra could beat all of them.
I mean, this is pretty wild. All those tanks were shut down. Really showing you the power of Queens. It's great that he's going to get kills with these. I guess, what is it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 Wraiths will one-shot an Overlord?
Yeah,
is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
He has +1 on him, so
trivia.
That's pretty good. 10 Wraiths will definitely one-shot.
I never have seen Wraiths one-shot Overlords. So I guess there's a first time for everything.
Yeah, anything he can get with the Wraiths is obviously really, really good, but he's got to keep that supply really high. He's got to continually remake those siege tanks. The Queens are gaining a lot of value for Jaedong over time. You can see he's finally up into that max supply range. And, you know, Light, he's got to reinforce all these positions, and it is hard. Zerg can move around the map and attack very quickly.
So the tanks are going to come up here now. It's still going to be a point of tension here. This natural expansion that hasn't been taken with the Zerg kind of turtled into the main. I think this is unwise of Jaedong, by the way. I don't think he's going to make any headway up here. There's so many siege tanks and a full screen of siege tanks behind this. But he's going to try to come in regardless. He gets that second lurker burrowed. That's going to force all of the siege tanks to unsiege.
That's what all those units were for, was just to get those 2 lurkers for it. He knew everything else would die.
Literally.
Hey, there it is. See, this is why this doesn't work, is because of Plague. Dude, Plague fixes every problem in the whole world. It's so insane. But, like, those have to be fixed now, you know? Like, the tiniest army ever could kill all those Wraiths.
Yeah, he's going to have to chain repair that. Back at home, shift click some SCVs on all the wraiths. He's still staying active. You know, maybe it's better to just be active on the map with these than to even go back home and repair.
He doesn't really have time to repair. Like, Jaedong is attacking everywhere. He just keeps pushing in different areas, and Light has to respond to that. So, yeah, I think you're right that he's just going to utilize the wraiths. Some people might look like that and be like, oh, it's, you know, the lack of value. You have to repair. No, man, if you're going to die, if you go back and repair, you can't do it. But now that they're red like that, you could ensnare them as well, and they're not even going to be able to get away. He's already lost a few of them. Look at this. The Queens, even if the Queens at this point trade for 1 tank each, it's still playable for Jaedong. And they're trading for more than that.
He's going to try to push out, again, all these units to basically get 1 lurker over here, Burrowed, to drive these tanks back. A nice plague on those tanks over there. And now he can start a hatchery over at this natural base. You know, Jaedong could win this.
Absolutely.
His supply is insane high. I assume that the Queens are almost all filled up. Looks like they've got a lot of energy. If he could just chain Broodling this, and by the way, you can like get a Broodling out, and then the mines are drawn in for hits and stuff. I mean, there's like a lot you can do.
That was a super fast clone. When the Overlords flew in, when you see the Overlords fly in, that's just to gain vision so he can clone out the Broodlings. But superbly done. The Wraiths come in, but they're so low. Look at that. He pops out 2 Hydras, kills a bunch of the Wraiths. Oh, my God.
This is license to kill Hydras. Just 1 shot kills the Wraiths.
They got the golden gun.
They have the golden gun, the golden Hydra mouth. So
the golden mouth. Oh, no.
The golden, it's the golden jawbone, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, Light seems to be crumbling. The tanks, when you lose that many, and then this attack comes in, suddenly the whole position's very flimsy. In some ways, Terran are never really meant to have this much of the map.
Yes.
Right? And here we're going to go again. And remember, when these tanks go down, do you really care if you're fighting Goliaths?
No.
With Hydras or Lings or anything? You're fine with that. Goliaths are ground units that are basically only intended to hit air. And yes, they have a ground attack, so I guess they can do something, but they're pretty much always at the disadvantage in any fight, especially TVZ.
Well, think of them as like Dragoons, kind of, in a way, where it's like, yeah, the Defiler just dominates Goliaths. The Goliaths are only there to support the Siege Tanks. The Siege Tanks are everything. And the Siege Tanks continue to get picked off. Look at it, once again, sacking a bunch of units to get these lurkers forward. But that's still a big, scary push from Light. Like, he's still got a big army. He's still mining from a couple bases. Everything else seems to be dry. Jaedong as well, mining only from 3 bases. This is coming really down to the wire. Either player can absolutely still take this game. What a great game 1, by the way. What a superb game 1.
It's so good, Artosis. This is going to be an insane series. This is game 1 in a best of 7. We're 31 minutes into game 1, and it's not clear who's going to take it. Feels a little bit more like Jaedong with every passing minute, especially as Jaedong gets the freshest, newest base. The only base that can really be taken from Terran right now is the upper left, and I think the mineral only is not going to be a factor. This base on the right side, that mineral only, I don't see a world where that is even necessarily something you're going to be scrambling to get.
Yeah, it's in the center of all the pushes. Like, that is not going to be a base that's really taken. The game would go so weird if that base gets taken. But look at the amount of mines. Look at this spread, the zoning from the Goliaths. That looks so unkillable, Tasteless. Look at that.
It really does.
Holy
man, when you see
crap.
this many tanks with support, well-positioned, it's like, how do you get in there? Now, you know, it's just 2 queen waves away from being all Broodling down.
That's true.
Just got to point that out. You know, I mean, it looks unstoppable. Wait until it's cut in half.
Yeah, here he needs to actually be smart and just keep 1 lurker under Darkstorm, pull everything else back. Don't be wasting anymore. You can't be wasting anymore. Literally just chain Darkswarm 1 lurker and the tanks can't move forward. That's it.
That's all he needs to
waste.
do. That's literally it.
And
then don't even push further forward. Don't
push.
Be greedy with it. Just keep the lurker there.
If you can keep your hatch alive with that 1 lurker, do it and get your queens active. Because if Jaedong's going to win this game, he does have to Broodling these tanks. Like, there's no other way. There's no other way.
Here we go. These are the Broodlings we're talking about. So nasty. Takes out everything that was down there. The position a lot softer. Act 2 happening now. Takes out those tanks. Again, the Broodlings are very dangerous with these mines. Broodlings do set off mines.
Yeah.
There's a couple more queens back here. You just have to keep doing Broodlings on these tanks.
Come on, get that Broodling off.
He's got another one.
There you go.
Get it.
Yeah, and actually, there's
Dude,
generally...
he's got to steal the command center with a queen.
Oh,
It's
dude,
it's there.
That
No.
would be amazing. One thing I want to note is actually the Broodlings, the siege tanks that kill the Broodlings, they kill them so quickly. Generally, the mines don't hit. It's the siege tank damage that actually adds a bit extra to those Broodlings as well. So they really are useful in these weird situations. But look at this. Jaedong is actually going to counterattack. This is a really smart move. This is very good from Jaedong.
He's going to come in again. Nice Broodlings there on that. Big counterattack. I'm not clear. You know, one of the things about StarCraft, you can zoom out pretty far, but it can be hard to tell as you're attacking in the tanks. Like, okay, how far back does this go? How much do you actually have here?
I actually thought he'd do better over there, but that was a great defense from Light. He does move up here and remove some other areas. Like, this is not worthless. It's not worth a ton, but there's some value in clearing that area.
Now, this base is fresh out of the oven. I don't know that the tanks can hit the hatchery from there, but as long as Jaedong has this, he has the newest base on the map. The upper left base is getting no love yet here for Light. We'll see if it starts to. Scourge are going to connect. No, they're not. Yes, they are. I didn't put myself in a bad position trying to play-by-play that.
Yeah, Goliaths are actually terrible at killing Scourge. Just think about Dragoons trying to kill Surge. It's kind of similar.
Exactly. The shot has to fire, and then the little bullet has to connect.
Yeah.
Unlike their ground attack. Okay, Jaedong's driving this back, man. This is insane.
Yeah, the unsieged tank's not doing as well, but he does have a couple siege there, and Jaedong will have to pull back as well. Jaedong's supply getting very low. He still has some queens left over. Again, he does need to just chain Dark Swarms on lurkers there to keep himself from dying. This game is getting very low economy. Light, I think the bottom right base is almost out of minerals, but he is finally taking that kind of top left nook base. Yeah, right there. This is really important. If Jaedong can't stop that, Light's got the game. Yeah, he's just going to GG.
Out.
That was a really good game. A really good game. And that's the type of game that Jaedong can win. I don't think Light played towards Jaedong's weaknesses, but Light did something he's very good at there, and he was able to win that. So, like, my opinion on the match still hasn't changed, but that was a superb game one. That was
Really special. I'm so glad we got to see a game that went all the way to, like, almost a mined-out map, really. Light, you know, it's that invincibility feeling you get when you watch him play. Like, I don't know where exactly the moment that Jaedong should have played differently to win.
He was a little bit too wasteful in some pushes, I think. Like, he was pushing too far forward to break, where he should have just held with Lurker Defiler while grinding with Queens.
It could have been that counterattack with the Hydras that he committed to. Guys, short break. Coming up next, another three-player map, Deja Vu. We'll be right back.
이 에너지 드링크는 이것을 올리지 않아. 단백질이 들어있거든. 청량하게 마시는 단백질 에너지 드링크. 에너지가 담백해. 하식스 더프로.
You've been coming home to a cold house. I've been waking up alone. We keep picking fights and we lash out, but I just wanna let it go and stay with you. I will always stay with you. You've been working hard, so have I, and we've had hardly any time. But you're the only person I wanna stand by in this mess.
Welcome back, everybody. That was too long of a break. I'm
Yeah.
excited to get into this next game.
Man, if
What
all
a-
of our games
what a
look like
match.
that, I'm super happy with whatever happens here tonight. That was just a pleasure, that game. Jaedong did play really, really well. His early game defense was strong. Light was not, going for a standard SK with pressure. It didn't even feel like he was trying particularly hard to bust with the Valkyrie timing. So,
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible that he kind of knew that Jaedong was ready for that play, and so he sidestepped it. He built up to it and then maneuvered into a much stronger position in the kind of ending of the mid game.
Yeah, the coolest thing about that, I think, from Light's point of view, was the switch from Valkyries. Because he had that build before, and you'd actually go up to like 10 Valkyries with it. But he went into Vessels. And being able to even afford those Vessels, like he took the third base pretty quickly, got that gas up. His fourth was a mineral only. But like he made a good amount of Vessels. Without those Vessels, he loses 100%. It would not have worked out. So that's kind of a cool little adjustment. I'm excited to see if that's something that maybe people build upon. Maybe it catches on a bit and becomes a little bit of a metagame for a bit. It was interesting to watch.
Yeah, a style that we saw a long time ago. Basically before StarCraft Remastered even came out. We saw a lot of these mech switches and basically kind of waiting it out and starving the Zerg from their points. We're going to go into Deja Vu, and I'm curious how Jaedong wants to play this. It seems like he's come in with very strong foundational play. I think he did a good job in that last game. I think he tried to do a couple punchy moves there at the end that maybe were unnecessary.
Yeah.
Throwing away a lot of Lings and Hydras where it's like, no, you got this. Throw a couple Lings in there, a couple Hydras here and there, and just keep doing the Broodling stuff. Anyways, guys, we're going to go start over here with a new game. Game 2 in this best of 7. Right now, Light with a 1-0 lead. Okay, Jaedong here in the bottom right. And Light here in the top left, cross spawns. Couple core features of this map. There are less bases on this map than like the previous map as an example. So the Zerg doesn't have a whole lot of room to really be creative with a third base. Although I guess if you're going to have to challenge the Terran in a guessing game or an intuition game, cross spawns maybe is the hardest for Terran. Even though there are less bases, because you're either the third base for the Zerg is either the top right or the bottom left, but it's not obvious. Like if you both share the top and the Zerg's on the left side, then the Zerg's going to probably expand to the bottom left. If that makes sense.
So,
because that's the furthest away spot.
It's kind of funny that you said that because actually, as I push my glasses back up my nose.
Oh, we got a Redditor in the cast. Hold on.
Yeah, it's
I didn't see your fedora on top of your headset, Artosis.
The reason why you think that Dominator has more bases is because of the layout. Because they're both 12-base maps, and Deja Vu has the mineral patches in the middle too. But a 4-player 12-base map plays really differently than a 3-player 12-base map.
You're right, because the mineral bases don't really matter. Okay. That's a really good point.
Yeah,
All right. Sometimes the Redditor is correct.
No,
here.
that's not
that's
true.
a very good point.
They're never right.
Because, that's true. I actually want to make a TV show called, like, To Catch a Redditor. Kind of like To Catch a Predator. But when I just go on, I find people on Reddit and I go, did you say this? Did you mean when you said this? I've got the whole thing printed out. I make them sit down and read it. But
I want to make a show where I make people on Team Liquid actually play, and we watch them play, and then read their comments back to them.
We should call it, like, At Gunpoint. We go, oh, so that's how the game works? And we just pull out guns. We go, sit down for a second. Here's somebody at C rank. Now you try to do what you just said, and they're just sweating and stuff. No, that's actually a really good correction, because you're right. There are less bases, but in TVZ specifically, only gas bases matter.
Well,
I guess
for Terran, you
Terran,
can take a mineral base and it's good. But yeah,
right. But since we're talking from the Zerg's perspective, right, and we're talking about hiding bases, you don't hide a hatchery at like a mineral only base. You're like, I'm gonna have enough. I'm gonna get more minerals in this base to make another hatchery at a gas base.
That's actually one of the ways Sulky tricked Light last season, if you remember, is he hit a base at a mineral base and Light never checked it, and he had the evolution chamber there while going crazy, Zerg. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because it's so stupid, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. Basically, Zerg, they need to get to the layer, like we just saw here. They need Mutalisks, they need Lurkers, Defilers, all this gas tech, Ultralisks in the end game, depending on how the game goes. So yeah, they want to get gas here. And so the Terrans don't even check the mineral-only bases.
Oh.
But I guess, in that point, too, I think that some of the bases are... I'm actually maybe not. Maybe I'll take this back. I was thinking that the third base in each starting location is not viable to try to take a hidden base set, but maybe it is, because again, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Actually, that is sometimes how you trick people, is taking your third on this base as Zerg, because it's like so wide open. But that's part of the reason why Light chose this as his first map. Those third bases are pretty wide open. There's a lot of surface area for dropping. You have those ridges, so like, you know how like later on in the game you might have like Defiler-based armies like coming out and pushing the map. Well, if you have Marines all around on the ridges and stuff, like they're going from, low ground to high ground where they might not have vision and everything. So it's kind of hard for Zerg to move around, and there's good like attacking vectors for Terran on this map. So I think, the thing is, because it's a bit bigger and it has that same amount of bases, like, everything's spread out a bit more. It's just harder for Zerg to hold on to everything. So I think we're just going to see a very standard... Like, this is not a map you'd want to go mech on. I think you want a map like Dominator where you have quadrants of 4 bases so that you can actually get a ton of... With mech, you need 4 bases really quickly. With SK Terran, you can play 2 to 4 bases all reasonably,
Yeah, some maps are broken up into quadrants more so than others. Like maps, like Retro, it's kind of like you can take either base that's close to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of get, like, okay, you got a third base, but the fourth base is also where the third base could have gone, depending on how the game lays out. This map is a little bit more like Fighting Spirit in architecture, and that, like, it's pretty clear where the 3 bases that you get are.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to get over to that other area. And the third base that is supposed to be given to each starting location is, like... it's like on low ground. It doesn't feel safe like Fighting Spirit. So, yeah, those are our thoughts with that. We have a little push coming out here, very similar to what we saw in the previous game.
Well, he only has 1 sunken and a few lings, so this is actually a big problem. He's going to target those lings down. Really good micro from Light there as well. And, I mean, this is how Jaedong loses so many games as a sunken bust. This is actually a disaster. A complete and utter disaster.
When you push out with this, you don't necessarily have to attack at all. You're just trying to force a sunken colony. You're trying to kind of kill a drone, so to speak. The mutas are out. I don't know, man. The damage might be done. Oh my god, the Spire is so low. Can you kill the Spire in time?
No. He tried, but no.
It's just like my TVZ knowledge. I'm like, can you kill it in time? It's like, clearly not.
Not even close. Those are Zealots, no problem. Marines, no.
I'm like, are those Scarabs the Marines are firing? It's like, no, they're not. Those are mutas. They have glaives. It's 3 Marines tasteless. There's no way in hell.
Yeah, this is really sad to see that this was the opener. Because it was basically the same opener from Light. And when Jaedong played against this previously, he dogged the Marine army the entire way across with his Lings, and he only had one sunken, so it was a bit different because he was delaying it. Here he wasn't really delaying as much, and he still only had one sunken. If they're doing Academy Rush, the counter is 2 sunkens. They don't attack if you have 2 sunkens. And if they do, you kill everything. So, like, the fact that he skipped a sunken to be greedy here, and now he's so far behind, this is you know, normally he gets sunken busted at, like, in the mid-game, not the early game, but, like, this is where Jaedong is the weakest. Hell, I almost beat Jaedong once because I sunken busted him, just like what Light just did. Because he just, like, tries to play it greedy and tries to play it, you know... I don't know. It's just... I wish he would just get the proper defense. We know what it is, Tasteless.
It is sad. It is sad to see Jaedong in a... And I know this game is still going on. This is really bad, man.
Yeah.
You know, Zerg just is not allowed to lose a lot of drones like this, especially right before the mutas come out. You have all your like pieces on the board set, basically, to start your mid-game with the drones, the tech, sometimes a third drone out on the map to expand, sometimes upgrading the Spire. But the fact that that many units were killed off is bad. And I know it looks like the game is back to normal, but I promise you, Jaedong is so strained in the position he's in. And, you know, all the drones that were remade could have and would have been Lings. And in order to beat this army right now, you kind of got to have a sulky comp. You know, sometimes a small number of Lings, sometimes a lot. Sometimes a small number of mutas, sometimes a lot. But a combination of the two. And right now, I don't know if there's a whole lot of ways that Jaedong can engage with this.
There's not. He has to kind of do what he's doing here, which is, you know, dogging around the army, looking for stray Marines he can pick off, kind of being threatening. He's making the Lings, he's making the mutas, so he's getting ready for a sulky-esque move. But he's already been injured, and he's already got a bunch of injured mutas and everything. And +1 should be done now for Light, so like, it's kind of stacking up. You know, these mistakes, you see them kind of echo throughout the game. And look at that, like he's doing a great job picking off the mutas. The thing is, Light doesn't have to take any risks here. He can play just like this, where he's just in front of his main, so you can't really go into his main, and then he reinforces, and then the extra Lings and mutas you made don't do anything, and then he gets vessels, and your lurkers are a little bit late because you had to make extra muta, and it gets worse and worse.
Muta's taking a lot of damage here. He is picking really good angles here, kind of around this bridge, where he can maybe get some low-hanging fruit as far as Marines. Damn, that was a crazy amount of damage from Light. Almost 180 degrees of damage from those Marines. The Lurker tech is coming. We don't know exactly where it's at. We don't see any Lurkers so far. But the 2 vessels are about to pop out, which will make the push a lot scarier. So right now, Jaedong's trying to buy time. The consequences of the mid-game haven't quite rippled into the next couple minutes. Like, it still seems like he's hanging on, but this push that is inevitable is going to be so scary. Now, if Light is a little bit overextended, it seems like Jaedong might have banked up enough. Maybe he can actually clobber this.
Well, I hope so. If he can kill off all these Marines, it does give him a little bit more life, and he does. He gets in here, he kills them off. He can actually get these medics. Getting the medics is huge, but Light has a tiny counterattack that is killing some drones. Plenty of Marines and medics back here. He should have just focused on killing medics off. I think he'll still get them. But, like, that was...
I think he...
Yeah, you can't expect Light to have no units at home. That does... Like, how would that be? What, do you get supply blocked? This is Light we're talking about.
You can only have 12 units in a control group in StarCraft, so it's hard to have a ton of Marines out, so you basically have, like, 1 to 2 control groups that you're moving around with. And then he had the rest banked back there. But yeah, I think you're right. He should have focused down the mutas. Or sorry, the mutas should have focused down the medics, is what I'm trying to say.
Jaedong has made a lot of Zerglings here, Tasteless. It feels like he's still kind of playing that I want to crush the army thing. But if all Light needs to do
be
is...
a sulky junior here.
Yeah, all he needs to do is identify that there's no hive. Like, the hive hasn't even been started. If he scans that, you just play carefully. Because your opponent is just making a ton of units right now. And, like, everything is super killable because the Defiler is way off. So you just have to get critical mass, and suddenly Mutaling becomes very weak against a few Irradiates.
Okay, the Ling Muta is going to back up now. And he may try to set up for a counterattack. I don't know. Is there a bunker back there? I didn't see.
I don't think there is. I don't think he even needs one. He has like 6 racks pumping right now.
Yeah, you might just run into the rallies here. So this is the very, very valuable third base that is going to get killed off here. We see the counterattack coming. There is a bunker, stims, and backs into it. There's too many turrets. I mean, there's just no way to get in there.
There's nothing left here.
Light is even kind of cycling units, some out to kind of rotate back enough to kill the hatchery. He does find, beautifully done, he does find the Muta clump. The vessels are in pursuit. He's going to try to close in on, I think, what is the rally point here on the high ground. He scans to preemptively click in and irradiate. We'll probably have another 1 or 2 there. He gets in 2. Jaedong's not splitting. Did he GG? I didn't see. He must have.
I think that was Soup ending the match. It was like a mercy ending of the game. I didn't see a GG either, but they're like, okay, we're not.
There's going to be at least a couple people that are like, can Soup do that? Is that what happened? Someone's going to ask me that in my stream now tomorrow, or Tastosis. That's coming.
Yeah, when you hit a critical mass of crying Jaedong fans in the front row, man, you just gotta switch the screen and be like, it's okay. He's okay, guys. Look at him. He's fine. It's just a game. No, that was rough though. You can't not have speedlings out on the map harassing the moving force and have only 1 sunken. Those 2 things don't compute.
He's being too greedy.
Just make the second sunken for God's sake.
Players. Yeah, make the second sunken. Light has proven. Light, Royal, and Rush will all absolutely just stim and run in.
100%.
They are not afraid to do that. You have to respect that. In case anybody's confused about that, he's basically trying to get through into the mid game with 1 extra drone. He's like, no, I'm going to have extra minerals, and I'll have an extra drone, and it's going to be great. And Terran's like, all right.
Yeah.
Comes in there and punches Zerg in the nose. 2-0 lead right now, meaning that Light is halfway through this match. Jaedong really badly needs to win here on map 3 to have a realistic shot. In a best of 7, if someone's down 0-3, the 4-0 comeback almost never happens.
Sulky did it once in StarCraft 2.
Have we had it happen in StarCraft 1?
I don't remember in StarCraft 1. We haven't had as many best of 7s here, though. I remember
that's true.
It happened to SOS once in a PvP in a round of 4 somewhere. Looks like we have maybe a technical difficulty or something. I'm not sure exactly, but Jaedong obviously needs to win. I'm surprised he chose Radion here. It's a pretty standard map. I think he must have like a special strategy planned. The thing is, Radion doesn't stick out as it's got any really special strategies. Like, you can do really silly stuff like hide a base at 12 or 6 and like go Guardian Rush, something like that. Like, I've definitely seen some high level players try stuff like that on this map, but nothing really comes to mind. And having it be such a standard map, I feel like Light just goes forward and plays his normal game.
Doesn't seem like, and I know we've only had 2 games, right? But we might only have 4 if Light keeps winning. Doesn't seem like there's any special tailored strategies from Jaedong. Which makes me a little bit worried. I do think at a best of 7, you have to have a pretty big range of play. You have to be unpredictable. I mean, this is why Sulky's so hard to play against, is he has these like perfect macro games that are boring, and then he has the craziest out there experimental strats, like Artosis was saying, hiding a hatchery to mineral only base to hide Evo chambers, or just a crazy cheese.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really fault Jaedong. I've seen a lot of players that come into a tournament with just trying to have strong fundamentals, especially if matchups don't allow for a lot of creativity. Feels like against Light, maybe there's not that many sneaky things you can really do.
True.
And maybe you're making the game harder for yourself, but trying to go head-to-head against Light here every time is just not quite working. Obviously, Game 1 was more impressive than Game 2. We got into endgame TVZ. We almost mined out the entire map, but I wonder if the loss in Game 2 is in part the fatigue, the anxiety setting in post Game 1.
Could be.
Artosis?
Yeah, that obviously took a lot of energy. I think you're right. He should be going probably for like some sort of like strategic win here and kind of get himself back on track. I'm still, my brain is still racing, and like the best thing I can actually come up with right now is Jaedong 4-pooling, especially if he gets a bottom spawn, right? Because every Terran walls on Radeon like every single game, and against a wall, 4-pool does pretty well. It has a high win rate, although Terrans have done better lately. But especially if they have a spawn at the top of the map, the barracks opening is at the bottom, so it gets really hard to hold. So if Jaedong spawns on bottom and goes 4-pool, that would make some sense to me.
Well, let's see what happens. Whatever the tech delay was, it's been sorted. The staff at Soup always pretty fast to get these get this stuff fixed and kind of back to it. We are ready to go into Game 3 now, guys. Our map is Radeon. Good luck to Jaedong. He's going to need it because right now Light with a 2-0 lead. Okay, bottom left, Jaedong, top left, Light.
All right.
You were saying in this position you'd want to see a 4-pool?
This would be the best situation for it. He's obviously not going for that. He's already made drones. No. And, you know, I don't expect too many Zergs to ever mix in a 4-pool. We got 815, that'll do it. Sulky, that'll do it. There's a lot of space in between 815 and Sulky, man, but not a lot of players willing to pull that trigger. Honestly, in these spawns, if he goes for a wall in, the 4-pool probably would have killed him. Most likely, like probably 90%. Yeah. But you know, that when you're down 0-2, can you do that? He probably already has a plan here, you know. He obviously wanted to pick Radeon early on. I don't know exactly why, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, you know, it's almost prescient, Tastosis, like what you predicted and what I guess Jaedong would have done. Good job on that, because, yeah, I think a 4-pool would have just won this. You're right.
Likely.
Like, it makes perfect sense. When you were saying it, I was like, man, it sounds very specific, but then I look at it and I go, nah, that probably would kill him.
Yeah, the barracks sticks out with the Marines popping at the bottom left. So, like, if you look here, the 4-pool gets there before the barracks is done. And what Terran does is they bring SCVs down, and they can prevent they put the SCVs in a line behind the holes. So the Lings, if they try to come in, there's good surface area for the SCVs, and it's very glitchy for the Lings. But the thing is, you need the Marine to pop out with the SCVs. And if Jaedong's on a bottom spot, 1/3 of the time, Light will be on a bottom spot, and the Marine can pop out on the inside. But on those top spots, it can't. So, like, that's why I was kind of saying if he spawns bottom, goes 4-pool, that's really smart. But, yeah, it's, you know, you can't... I think it's hard to... be critical of someone for not 4-pooling.
No, that's a good point. It's just like your speculation just completely panned out, I guess is what I wanted to highlight.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, this will happen
if I was a better player, my planning for tournaments would be pretty solid, I think. But, you know, unfortunately, I'm not, not quite that level.
We've casted so many tournaments that we do, I think, have a decent feel for, like, build orders that might work or might not work, or trends in the game.
Yeah.
You know, in any best of 7, it's pretty realistic you're going to have a game like Game 2. I think that on some level we're kind of casting this from the Jaedong camp.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
We're like, well, how could he win this? Like, what does he need to do? Because it's pretty clear that, like, Light is the favorite. Light has been very consistent in always being an ASL, always being a threat. He hasn't won as much as we thought he would have after Flash stepped away. There was this whole, you know, question of like, well, could Light just come in and kind of take the helm? Would he just be the leader of the ASL and he'd finally have his moment to shine? And no, actually, it's pretty even across the board. And then we had Sulky kind of come in and dominate and take all the oxygen out of the room.
But to be fair, he has been the leader of Terran. Like, there's no question. If you're a Terran player, you look to him.
He's Cyclops in the X-Men. Okay?
Yes.
He's Cyclops.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. Now, the Marines are going to come down, and they're actually going around the
wait.
Overlord.
Is Sulky Magneto? I just have to check. Yeah, that's insane. Walking those Marines
yeah,
around.
I think he is. This is crazy. Hold on, is he just going to get in here?
This is a funny move because he's going to try to snipe a drone, then run behind the minerals most likely. Oh, okay, he backs up because Jaedong actually has enough lings to beat those. Like he can, if he pulls all his lings up, he can like kill off these Marines. Maybe you pull like a drone or two with that. And Light is continuing to rally down. Oh, and he's going fast Academy. This is or fast eBay. This is the best build that he could do against Jaedong.
The Lings are going to come up. Can he catch these Marines? There might... Oh, man, with great control. I don't know that he can get in there. But more Lings are coming. The Marines have to get back. They have to get to safety. I think they're going to barely get in there, in between the egg and the barracks. Whew. So if Light is Cyclops, who is Jaedong?
Jubilee.
He's Jubilee. That's what I was going to say. Of course.
Sorry, Jaedong. I want him to be who's
best is Beast easily.
Best?
Upside down with the chemistry
fuck
glasses.
That.
Yeah.
He's like Cable or something, man. He's from the future. He's like stronger than everybody. What are you talking about?
No, man, that's Minnie.
What are you talking about?
Cable.
Dude, he's
Minnie might
Jean
have
Grey
to be
as
Wolverine
Phoenix.
with his fingernails. No, he's Sabretooth easily with the fingernails.
he's Sabretooth.
That was an
But
easy one.
no, best is
fruit.
this season he's Phoenix Jean Grey. You know those episodes when they were in outer space? That's where we are with Best right now, man. He's just the strongest ever.
Yeah. Well, this is some great casting here.
Well, there's only so much you can say about Marines standing behind a wall against Speedlings. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like, if Cable was going to be anybody, it'd have to be a Terran player, right? It would have to be the most turtly Terran player there is.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be you, Tastosis, taking a late third base. You're just Cable staying back. Dude, it's Cable with bad accuracy, though.
I'm Professor X. Okay, I actually don't help, but like I'm like X-Men. I need you to four-pool, and like then Wolverine screws it up, and I'm like, damn.
That's so funny. The mutas are going to come in. They're not getting a whole lot done. The turret placement, I think, is basically perfect.
Yeah. I think Professor X's wheelchair is a great metaphor for my skill compared to these guys.
It's like I'm actually the most powerful X-Men. It's just that my legs don't work.
Yeah. Sorry, I just can't go on missions, guys. Okay.
I can already see you in the comics. It's just you in your wheelchair holding your head. It's like WWW in your Twitch stream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
All right, so the mutas are starting to harass. This is really good turret setup. Light's strategy in general is very strong here, I think, against Jaedong because it's going to give him a very strong mid-game timing. This has been historically how Jaedong loses third bases is strategies like this, which obviously this is a pretty common strat. You know, he's been doing mostly academy rushes, but getting that +1 quickly with 4 barracks, you field more Marines, you get out there. Jaedong is doing a very good job with the harassment so far. And notice a factory hasn't been started. So, like, there's positive things here about Jaedong's position, but he might just need to make some sunkens. It's a little bit nerve-wracking right now because he has to hold this with pure units. He has no defense, and this is a lot of Marines. Once you get up to about 20 Marines, 4 or 5 medics, +1 range sim, a group of mutas has a hard time doing anything against that if you control correctly as Terran.
Jaedong's eating a lot of hits. It's always a little painful when you see the mutas kind of maneuver in looking for a hit, and then they have to veer away. The mutas are a long way from being, bad in this position here. But every extra hit is painful. Oh, nice move. Jaedong just swaps out a weakened muta, sends back in a stronger one. He's not quite connecting, though. He hasn't really picked off a Marine, I think, since Terran's left. The Queen's Nest is inbound here.
Dude, he's not making any progress at reducing the size of this. If Light walks back one time, reinforces, and moves out, it won't be a killable army for Muta. Like, this is still killable, but he needs to get on it. Look at this. Like, I think Light is just about to roll him over.
Yeah, Light's pushing in. Jaedong is looking brittle. There's no sunks here. That being said, I think Jaedong can have enough. The next wave's moving out. It's going to be a little bit of footsies play, kind of the back and forth. The Marines with just a little bit better range than the Mutas. The Mutas with a bit of a stronger punch. They're going to come in here. He is, I think, individually targeting some of these Marines. Looks like it's finally cleared up.
Okay.
But now without Zerg suffering some losses, more Mutas come in. I think that's going to total it to 12. Although you always have only 11 on a control group because you want one Overlord in that to bunch them up. And this time, this group of Marines has quietly moved through the fog of war, unbeknownst to Jaedong.
That's a huge problem. He's going to lose that third base. This is enough to kill that third base before these Mutas get back. So, like, it's going from a tough position for Jaedong to a very losing position. And he sees this, man. He actually, I immediately looked towards his face because I was like, he should be sighing, but yeah, he's watching that. See how he
can't save the third.
He leans forward in his chair. Yeah.
Well, you know, that was completely blindsiding. And normally we never say this in a TVZ, but he will lose his Hydra Den.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. I mean, that's going to be a reset on the... I don't know if lurker upgrades are done or not, but, like, he can't make... He's going to have to just restart it. This is nearly a fatal blow right now. When you have a Terran that's just powered up on 2 bases, basically not losing much other than the SCVs we're seeing take hits right now. Light is in a really good position. And again, this all came down to the fact that Jaedong couldn't really take a fight with the Marines in the middle of the map. Light was too good at controlling. Went all the way to the outside of the natural. And I think a lot of people would look at that and say, yeah, but Jaedong wins that fight. Yes, but this smaller army then moves out and finds the third base and kills it. And the tech there. So we have the Hydra Den reset over here.
Yeah, if he had caught
the next
those,
attack's going to come in.
If he had caught those Marines, you know, maybe he's in a good spot here. But yeah, GG is called. This game exactly. This is exactly why I keep because people are telling me I'm underestimating Jaedong and stuff. This is exactly why I say that Light is super favored against him. This is exactly why I always predict him to do poorly. Compared to the level that we remember him at. Like that game, I have seen this exact game from Jaedong like 100 times. I'm not even joking. Like, this is how he loses Zerg vs. Terran all the time. Is Cyclops, the Terran gets a ton
laser
of bio.
sight.
Yeah, in the third base
Blue
falls,
suit,
and that's it.
Yellow shoes. That is Light. He just played so well.
Yeah.
It was honestly, well, we're not done, but man, it feels like it, right? This feels very different from yesterday's match. The question is, how is Jaedong going to recover? He had one game that he played really well, got to late game. The other two were pretty punishing early on. Guys, Polestar coming up next. We'll be right back.
이 에너지 드링크는 이것을 올리지 않아. 단백질이 들어있거든. 청량하게 마시는 단백질 에너지 드링크. 에너지가 담백해. 하식스 더프로.
너 너무 장문충이야. 짧게 해줘.
아니야. 반말을 하네 친구가.
안녕, 나는 프로게이머 이재호야.
이세호 선수 반가워.
너 목소리를 좀 여자 목소리로 바꿔줄 수 있어?
알겠어. 그럼 조금 더 부드러운 목소리로 바꿔볼게.
똑같은 것 같은데? 팬들 사이에서 나는 어떤 선수로 평가되고 있어?
팬들 사이에서는 특히 중요한 순간에 흔들리지 않고 침착하게 플레이하는 모습이 인상적이라서 많은 사람들이 믿고 보는 선수로 생각해.
그래? 그러면은 단점은 뭐야?
가끔씩 너무 안정적인 운영에 치중하다 보니 상대가 예상치 못한 변수를 던졌을 때 대처가 조금 느려질 때가 있다는 정도야.
오, 꽤나 근데 자세히 잘 알고 있다. 나도 좀 스스로 그렇게 평가하는 편인데 너가 생각했을 때 ASL 시즌 19에서 어디까지 올라갈 수 있을 것 같아?
지금 흐름이라면 4강까지도 충분히 노려볼 수 있을 것 같아. 중요한 건 네가 가진 강점을 꾸준히 유지하면서 변수에 유연하게 대응하는 거니까 지금처럼만 하면 결승까지도 가능할 거야.
오. 그럼 변수에 능숙하게 대처하려면 어떤 연습을 해야 되는데?
일단 다양한 상황을 시뮬레이션하면서 상대의 전략에 빠르게 적응하는 연습을 많이 해보는 게 좋아.
알겠어. 거기까지. 너 말이 너무 많다. 좀 줄여줘. 너가 생각했을 때 내가 우승할 확률이 몇 프로 정도 될까?
현재까지의 경기력과 상대 선수들의 실력을 고려하면 대략 20% 정도는 가능할 것 같아.
그럼 너가 시킨 대로 할 테니까 지면은 너 탓한다.
알겠어. 결과야 어떻게 됐든 네가 최선을 다...
그래, 고맙다. 그래도 뭐 나쁘지 않게 평가를 해주는 것 같아서 좀 만족스럽긴 한데요. 어쨌든 데이터를 가지고 얘기하는 거라서 팬분들하고 얘기를 한 것 같고 AI랑 대화 나누는 것 같은 느낌은 안 드는 것 같아요.
안녕. 나는 스타크래프트 저그 전 프로게이머 이재동이야.
와, 이재동 선수 안녕하세요. 전설적인 저그 플레이어와 얘기하게 되다니 영광이에요.
ASL 시즌 15 이후로 아주 오랜만에 8강에 올라가게 됐어. 그동안 왜 이렇게 힘들었을까?
그동안 힘들었던 이유는 아마 여러 가지가 복합적으로 작용했을 거야. 하지만 이렇게 다시 8강에 올라왔다는 건 여전히 실력과 경쟁력을 충분히 유지하고 있다는 뜻이니까 앞으로도 자신감을 가지면 좋을 것 같아.
삼성동 프리겁 스튜디오가 나랑 잘 맞는 것 같은데 왜 그런 것 같아?
익숙한 환경이나 분위기가 경기력에 긍정적인 영향을 줄 수도 있고 과거 좋은 성적을 냈던 기억들이 자신감을 높여줄 수도 있지.
그러면 내 사주를 풀어봤을 때 8강 경기에서 조심해야 될 것들이 있을까?
네가 원래 잘하는 공격적인 운영을 유지하되 상대방이 준비해올 수 있는 편측적인 전략이나 초반 견제에 대비하는 게 중요할 것 같아.
이재호 선수랑 나랑 맞붙으면 누가 이길 것 같아?
이재호 선수랑 붙는다면 정말 흥미진진한 대결이 될 것 같아. 네가 특유의 공격적인 템포를 잘 유지하면서 상대의 허를 찌른다면 충분히 승산이 있다고 생각해.
그래서 누가 이길 것 같아?
객관적으로 전적이나 스타일을 고려했을 때 너의 공격적인 운영이 잘 풀린다면 네가 이길 가능성이 충분히 있어.
4강을 가본 기억이 너무 오래돼가지고 이번 시즌 19에선 4강을 꼭 가고 싶은데 너가 객관적으로 조언 좀 해줘.
몇 가지 핵심 포인트를 짚어볼게. 오랜만에 4강을 노리는 만큼 경기 중에 멘탈 관리가 정말 중요해. 어떤 상황에서도 평정심을 유지하고 네 플레이에 집중하는 게 중요하지. 상대방의 의외의 전략에도 당황하지 않고 차분하게 대처하는 게 큰 도움이 될 거야. 화이팅!
고마워.
그래서 이번엔 4강까지 한번 가보고 운 좋으면 우승까지 해보겠습니다.
이번에 정말 오랜만에 8강 올라가게 됐는데 준비 잘 해서 한번 4강 결승까지 높은 곳까지 올라갈 수 있도록 해보겠습니다.
We're back. It's time for the reversal, Artosis.
I want it.
I want it so badly. It very well may not happen. I'm trying to imagine not even just 4, but 1 game where Jaedong wins and what exactly it looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it probably, it has a lot to do with what Light's going to do. Like I said, you can get a win, counterattacking if you're going to play counterattack style against him, but it's going to take a few maps. And, you can get like a cheesy win, but it might take a few maps, and we're out of maps. Like, he has to win every game, and he doesn't have the solidity to do that. I want it to happen. A 4-0 here would be so epic, and it would be like the beginning of, the return of Jaedong to championship form, but...
You mean a 4-3, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go to the next game. Okay. Both players in the bottom now. Jaedong in the bottom left, Light in the bottom right. In case this is the last game, hopefully not, but you know the deal. Patreon.com/ASL English. Just consider signing up and supporting us. We love StarCraft. We love you guys. We want to do this forever. And thanks to you, we can. So appreciate the support.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. If the thing is, Jaedong did look good in the last round. He beat Speed, but again, Speed, a completely different style than Light. And the one game where Light didn't go bio, right? He went into the mech switch. That was a close game. That was a good game. Those are those are games that Jaedong can win. It's just that he's really, really missing something against just standard bio play. And not every Zerg's missing it. This is not actually, like, there's times in the metagame where people would be like, wow, ZVT is really hard right now. Like, everyone's so good at bio. This is really difficult to hold. That isn't right now. That is not the feeling. If you feel that way, it's because you're bad, okay? There are a lot of Zergs in ASL that would hold these attacks, Like, all the other Zergs in ASL wouldn't have died in the ways that Jaedong did, especially that last game. Like, that's just... I mean, occasionally you drop a map like that. Yeah, just like occasionally Zerglings get in or mutas break the turret line, right? Like, occasionally maps like that fall, but it's just so common for him. And he practices hard. I love Jaedong, right? Like, he is so much fun. He's a great guy. We've got to hang out with him in real life and stuff. Great guy, smart guy, amazingly good at StarCraft. But he really needs to fix this issue with his Zerg vs. Terran, because I said it before we started. You've seen it. It's like he needs to get better at that aspect of the game. And it's not impossible. You can go and watch other Zergs and see how they do it.
Playing TVZ is challenging, but this matchup has been around for a quarter of a century. And it kind of makes me think of, like, the early Street Fighter days with, like, Shoto characters like Ryu or Akuma or Ken. And it's like, there's a whole style of, like, okay, you jump, I uppercut you. If you stay too far back, I fireball you. And you play people who've been playing Street Fighter, like, forever, and that game's even older, than this game, especially the older Street Fighters, so, like, probably around 30 years now. And it's like, some people are so good at that. And that's a little bit what this Marine medic into Vessel play is like for some Zergs, where the Terran's like, okay, you're going to pressure me, I'm going to push out, are you going to come back, I'm going to stay back.
Yes.
And we saw it, I think, expressed really well in that last game.
Yes.
I mean, we have two games where he basically got Marines on the map, and the Zerg had a very hard time balancing, like, are you going to go back and defend? Are you actually attacking into me? And, this is, as far as I can tell, Jaedong is the worst player out of the, regular top 8 Zergs at that part of StarCraft.
Absolutely.
And there are so many different parts of StarCraft. It's like how some people, like, Action is so good at Hydra Bus, stuff like that. There's certain players that are just so good at parts of the game. Bisu's so good with Corsair. Zealot. I think that Jaedong, this is the weakest part of his game. Is kind of controlling it. I think he proved that he could do it in game 1, and it almost seems like he used up all of his battery for that in game 1, kind of hanging on and getting into Hive Tech. And Light proved that he could basically, segue from that part of the game into a full-on mech switch and still win.
True. That's and that's probably not something we'll even see again. Like, he could do it again here, absolutely. But it's not like a super standard part. It's like a mix-in strategy. Whereas the bread and butter, and I liked when you called it like the footsies, the moving back and forth. I think fighting games have great terminology. I actually prefer fighting game terminology for almost everything compared to every other esport. But yeah, like the footsies of moving back and forth, and the to and fro, right? The pushing out the Marines and medics, and the mutas go around, and it's like those types of positioning moments. That's bread and butter for Terran. Like, you have to be good at that no matter what, or you're dead as Terran. And if Zerg isn't good at that, then, well, you saw what happens. Holy crap. That was good micro right there.
God, that was great by Jaedong.
That was good by Light as well. The rotating. Half of his army was stuck behind the wall. That was sick.
But, you know, if Jaedong can't really hang with Light, it's just, you know, it's why a best of 7, great, it's more games, but when you're in this phase of the game, a best of 5 can feel closer, right? Maybe you could have squeezed a game or 2 out. Best of 7 feels like, okay, we're really getting down to a clinical level of who's better and what it looks like, right? And the pattern's starting to emerge.
0-4 is a bad feeling.
Yeah.
For any of my bros out there who have been 4-0'd before, I know I have. It's
I've been there.
It does not feel good. You're like, well, that was a domination, and there's nothing I can say
no,
that makes this okay.
If you're down 0-3 and you're in a best of 7, you're going to game 4, that's like walking into the electric chair.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
I had my last meal, and yeah.
If my mom was watching the stream, I'd call her and tell her to turn it off. Oh, man. Catches those 2 mutas. A lot of damage on the first 2 mutas. That's super rough. The Fire Bat, by the way, finds that top left base. Really nice from Light. He's already got his missile turrets going up. Kind of a very standard opener from him. 3 barracks play is just like, this is the very middle of the road, super flexible, can do anything type of play.
Right. So the mutas are staying out here right now. Again, a little bit more damage taken on these. 2 of these mutas are in like the deep red. Got to be careful.
Lights
if
movement.
you're A-clicking on the ground, the Marines will just, you know, they'll pick a target of their own, but we do have games where even if you're not targeting specific mutas, 2 of those mutas can be killed because the Marines just defaulted onto that.
Light's movement here is really, really good. Like, everything, I could pause this and like just go over so many things about what he's done already with his movement, where it's just really super plain. You can see that as the mutas come up, he makes a flat line towards them, stims, gets ready, pulls back, waits to see if they come back on the screen before moving. Because you don't want to be moving towards a base when the mutas are there. You want to stand still, and when they move, you move.
Yeah, you basically want to charge into them. When they're running away, you pull back. And this is that like like Shoto character movement in Street Fighter that you kind of see it in TVZ. And it's like when Terrans get really good at it, it's just like, it's hard to engage. Now he gets in there. He's going to clean it. And this is, I think, one of the deceptive things about TVZ is you kind of think, oh, well, I guess this is good. Now, it is, but he's mustered another force to come out with that, where Zerg still traded some things out.
And that was better for Jaedong, is what Tastosis is saying here. Like, it was better, but it's not end of the game for Light. He's okay. He's going to push out with the secondary group. I don't think he has real potential to go up and kill that 3rd base. I think Jaedong has probably done enough to secure himself a path into Lurker here without too much issue. I don't know exactly where all his tech is at right now, but so far he's playing a very good game. This is much more solid.
Sorry, Artosis. This is why it's typical for, in these spawn positions, for the Zerg to always expand to the top left. To expand as far away from the Terran as possible. To create enough space that the Terran really has to work to get up there. Jaedong is starting to hammer away at the depots as the Marines get a little bit further out. He takes some pretty good pot shots. It does feel a little bit like Jaedong has caught his 2nd win here.
Yeah.
He's like playing a lot better. In fact, he could overpower this spot. He can actually go in between the turrets. Actually, maybe not. It's kind of hard for me to tell spatially if he can or not. But, I mean, if he gets enough Lings, he could certainly run up the ramp and then combine with Ling and Muta, maybe even try to hit these Marines.
I feel like he's being a little bit too aggressive here. He's playing against 5 barracks plus 1 Marines, so it's a bit tough. Like, he's diving in on these turrets. Let's see. He does have Lings in the natural, kind of drawing some of the Marines away. Sometimes if you get rid of these turrets, you can just make the Terran fall over. Hey, not bad with those Lings. Oh my god, I had no idea that the Marines were unable to clean those up. And now he's going after these on top of the barracks. Very aggressive, in-your-face, attack-based play here from Jaedong. But it's working.
I mean, this is looking really good. He might just rip Light's face off here. I mean, this is like he's getting in there, he's doing the damage. The natural expansion is pretty exposed, honestly. The Marine count is getting lower now than the... oh god, but the mutas are very low on HP. Almost all those are in yellow or red. But the expansion is exposed. He can start to hit it now. This might be a win, man. This actually might be the beginning of Jaedong's comeback. He looks just way more focused, way more disciplined in how he's engaging. An overextension would be disastrous. Does he actually have enough here? He hard commits. He hard commits over here. He's going for the turret. The Lings come in. The
That
turret's
should be a
still
win.
there. What?
Come on.
Is this turret going to die? Okay. It's a Highlander turret. You got to cut its head off to kill it. I think that's a win.
That's
I think
a win.
He just got
That's
his
a
first
win.
game.
Really
Beautifully
well done.
done. Yep.
Yeah, and okay, so like when you're on top of the barracks, that's it for Terran, and Light knows
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
He's
that's
waiting for
stable.
his irradiate, but it doesn't matter. GG. Okay, so that was a good, solid game from Jaedong. You might be asking, okay, what went differently here? Why was he able to do that this game and not the other games? The main part of this was Light moved so far out with his Marine medic group, the first one, and Jaedong killed it. That is the only thing that opened up the opportunity for Jaedong to counterattack and actually kill. And it was close. Light almost held. He almost held despite losing that Bioforce. Now imagine you didn't spend that Bioforce in the center of the map trying to go towards the third base. Well, Jaedong can never do that attack if you keep that group at home. So there was a little, obviously Light made a bit of an overextension and Jaedong punished. Those are games that Jaedong absolutely can win. It's when you're not overextending, but you're still applying pressure. That's where Jaedong falls. So great job on Jaedong getting that win, but will Light overextend again? I guess we'll see.
That's going to be the big question. He just has to do it 3 more times. Let's not forget Eclipse is waiting here at the end.
If Jaedong can win this, the dream is alive. Death Valley and Eclipse are both Zerg maps.
Yep, that's very true. So, I mean, I think really Metropolis, I guess you got to take it one game at a time, right, when you're in a position like this. But Metropolis will be probably the biggest challenge of this entire series. But if he can win there, I think there's a clear path to victory.
Yeah. And tempo advantage, too. Like 2 in a row. Let's do it, man. The dream is alive suddenly.
That's right, 2 in a row. If he gets a third one, he gets an extra life. It's like Mario jumping on shells.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're going to hop into this game. I don't believe there's a commercial break. And so let's see if Jaedong has got what it takes. He did win on his own terms, by the way, there. We were talking about what would it look like if he beat him. Apparently it looks like that. And that was in a straight-up mid-game, what Light is basically considered strongest at in TVZ. Let's see if Jaedong can rinse and repeat. Okay, Jaedong in the top left. Light in the bottom left. Let's do this. Let's believe.
I hope.
It could be a better story than even the previous round of 8 match. Is a Jaedong 3-0 comeback.
That would be insanity because it's really, again, his hardest matchup, and I think we've all seen that explained clearly via the play. Metropolis, I think it's a good map overall for Zerg. There's definitely a lot of areas to drop. So, that part of it's pretty good for Terran. I don't feel like mutas are that hard to block here. You have a lot of space behind those mineral patches that you can see, so it's not too much of an issue. Yeah, I don't know. I think you have to be good at late-game Hive stuff to win this map against Terran, honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, in this game, it looks like it's going to be hatchery first. What is the drone doing going to the middle of the map?
He's looking for BBS.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, of course, you have to hatch in the middle of the map. It's a proxy hatch, the worst strategy in the world. Like,
yeah. If you go double proxy barracks and they go hatch first, you win. It's free. There's nothing to it at all. But the thing is, if like a drone scouts it, you lose. So, I think that was okay to do. I actually thought, I was thinking, like, would I suggest Light to do that build here? Because I think it's important to maybe mix that in once in a best of 7. But I think in this particular matchup between these two particular players, no need to BBS. And also, if you're going to, the next 2 maps are so much harder than this map that why do it on this map? Play this map normal.
I think it's
and
a good point.
Yeah, maybe risk it on a different map.
Yeah, you know, one thing about Light I've always been a little bit critical of, and I know he has been a little, somewhat more creative and experimental, but he is painfully standard. He is painfully standard.
Some of us
where
like pain.
It's like, yeah, this is like as Tastosis would say, an honorable Terran, where I just feel like sometimes, and you know, it actually reminds me of like a little bit of Hydra even.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like you're so macro oriented that you're not taking advantage of all of the parts of the game, and the fact that you can a win is a win, right? It scores the same. If you can be predictive, and we see this in a lot of the players who are like really good and they're in the round of 24 and they can't do long macro games, they can't win best of 5s or best of 7s, but just having the ability to kind of mix it up is, I think, what creates the difference between a Light versus a Sulky, where Sulky's won the last 3 ASLs and Light's been good, but, you know, not able to go all the way.
I basically agree with you. By the way, this
bunker's going to finish.
This is pretty annoying.
Bringing me back, man, to 1998.
There's no reason why this should have worked out like this.
I can't. Yeah, I almost didn't remark on this because I thought it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, he won't lose the hatchery, but like this shouldn't have even happened. It's just Jaedong being a bit greedy and just not having Lings out to stop it. And now he's picking off some Lings here. He didn't stop that, dude.
Okay,
there's no
reason
really
scary.
A walled expansion without a barracks first should be able to do this type of damage.
The hatchery is at 60% HP. The Lings are there to get in the way. I love that he juggles one Marine to the other bunker.
Yeah.
He's going to keep the other Marines back. Keep in mind the SCV can repair these. It can also jump in between bunkers.
Yeah.
Parkour through the bunkers.
Yeah, if you get
he's going to start to hit.
Sorry, if you get targeted on the SCV, you load it real quick too. It screws up the micro of Zerg a lot.
He's going to run around. Can he get the body block? I think literally all 3 Marines are going to get in.
But he runs by. There's a wall. He can't do anything with the run by. He's going to lose his hatchery. Oh man, this is not
he's going to die a painful death.
Yeah, it's not a good one. Not a great ending game here, unfortunately. You know, a tough matchup for Jaedong just overall.
A sad ending.
Yeah.
With a glimmer of hope in game, game 4, we go to game 5, and it is a bunker rush succeeding. You can see Jaedong moving uncomfortably in his chair.
Well, that's not how you want to lose your last game.
He's trying to do the dance, but the music's not playing to the dance he's doing here. There is no, like, you know, out here where you make 3 mutas versus a Terran on 2 bases. There is, in case you guys are wondering, you can cheer as hard as you want, but this is it. I could tag Tastosis in right now and throw Light out of the chair. Jaedong's going down.
I'd crush him, Tastosis. It would be completely one-sided. Wouldn't be an issue at all.
This is just very unwinnable. Not only are you down a base, the bunkers are still there, and Ling Muta don't necessarily deal with the bunker very easily. They can surround it and take it out, but not without trading quite a bit.
He's got 1 hatchery. He's got no production. That's the issue here. You can see Jaedong just a look on his face.
Expand?
Like he's trying to make something happen and at least put up some sort of fight. You know, a lot of people have come out to watch him here tonight. But you're right, Tastosis. 3 mutas does not counter 2 base Terran.
Yeah. No matter how hard you believe, guys.
He could have 9 mutas hatching right now and 2 bases fully operational. Yeah. Well, there you go. And it wouldn't matter. It would still be fine for Light. Anyways, GG. Light goes on in an absolutely dominating fashion. This is actually exactly what I expected today. It was a 4-1 for Light. Jaedong peeling a game and, you know, just a kind of a dominant victory. It's unfortunate. I think Sulky against everyone else does better. Not really well against Rush, but like Light is the furthest on that side of Jaedong weaknesses.
Well, I guess the results kind of ended up how we expected Tastosis. It was inspiring to watch Jaedong play and try to power through, I think, one of the toughest opponents in this matchup.
For sure.
Where he just doesn't seem to have any weaknesses, you know? So let's take a look at this. We were kind of remarking on general stuff, and, you know, the drone was here. it didn't seem like he really took the fight as seriously as he should, because the second drone, yeah, I don't know what exactly happened
Yeah,
here.
I'm not sure either.
Like, I don't really see this rush work. What was he supposed to do exactly?
I don't
to stop
even,
this?
when they go depot into barracks, I don't even really pay that much attention, because it's just like, yes, this should never happen. Like,
is there supposed to be like 6 drones out here chasing Marines or something? I mean, I feel
well,
like that's what...
No, I mean, the spawning pool generally finishes like around 252. He started his lings after, like, as the bunker was starting, so I think he was just trying to drone and not make lings, but I'd have to go back and look at the replay. But, like, yeah, he just... I think it was just like that other game where he's just, like, not making things. He's just trying to be as greedy as he possibly can. Because this is just literally never supposed to happen. That's 3 Marines and 2 bunkers, and his command center's going. It's not like this was 8 racks. If it's 8 racks, you're like, okay, that can happen. Anyways, on to the interview.
And that does it for Jaedong vs Light, the second round of 8 match of ASL Season 19. Moving on to the semi-finals is Terran player Light. Let's meet him. Congratulations. Thank you. With a 4-1 score, you succeed in once again stamping your name on the round of 4 after a long while indeed. It's been a long time since Season 13 as you're now getting ready to play in the semi-finals. How are you feeling? For starters, I am so spent right now, my mind is blank. You know, I'm not someone who prepared as much, but I tried to follow what I had practiced here in the studio. This was an easier victory than I thought. No matter how storied a Terran might be, like yourself, this defeat you suffered at the hands of Sulky last season, this memory would certainly make having to prepare for an extended series against a Zerg a heavy burden. And taking down a Zerg in this extended series, in this best of 7 today, has to carry a different meaning personally. What do you think? This is but the start. I know that if I want to beat Sulky, I have to do much better still. I'll have to prepare and leave no cracks in my play. Your performance today was awe-inspiring all throughout, but this drawn-out fight in the first set, I felt that this indeed can be what decides it all. You went for a mech switch, and while you kept having the game shift in your favor, Jaedong held on at the 3 o'clock for much longer than expected. What was it like then? I always consider the first set the most important whenever I play an extended series. It went into late game. I thought that this would be impactful for the overall result, and luckily I managed to take that game. I got to relax mentally, and it led to a good result in the end. And Game 2 on Deja Vu as well, whether it was your Marine timing, or defending against Zerglings and Mutalisks, and how you managed to push the Zerg army back in set 3 despite being in the dark. It was a very meticulous and safe approach from you. However, now you need to prepare for a Protoss in the round of 4. Isn't TVP different from TVZ? In any case, Best knows me really well. He's one of the Protosses I consider demanding. I don't think this will be easy. And I also remember losing to him a lot in the ASL. And now that we are meeting, I want to prepare well and I want to go to the finals. And I remember Best really wanted for you to advance. He is most confident against Terran, maybe that's why he wanted me. But I think I played TVP as well as any other Terran. It will be an interesting match. It's certain that preparing for an extended series for a best of 7, from the perspective of the players in the round of 8 and the round of 4, it's a much bigger physical and mental burden than anything else. And you know this better than anyone else. I'm sure you will come prepared thoroughly. Are you ready for this? I am struggling physically nowadays. I'm also helping raise my kid. who woke up quite early today, so I did have a hard time. But still, I got a good result, so I'm really, really happy. I need to sort of cultivate my physical strength as well. And to make sure you are physically fit for this, your family always accompany you to the studio. I think that helps you show good games. Yeah, and my wife always drives me to the studio in our car. This makes things really comfortable. Thank you. And do you have any words for your colleagues at the studio and the colleagues who helped you practice? First, for helping me practice Soma, Killer, Action, and Saxry, I wanted to express my thanks. And to everyone who came down to the studio to cheer for me, and C as well as the rest of YB crew cheering online, thanks. And to the fans who always cheer for you whenever you spawn up top and in red. This is a meme, meaning he always wins when he's red and spawns top. With how long it's been since I made the round of 4, it overlaps with that season. I had my championship run, so this is a good memory. I want to repeat it. I will work hard and aim for that final honor, that final glory. Thank you. Once again, congratulations on making the semi-finals. Thank you. And that does it for our interview with Light, who advances to the round of 4 after a long while indeed.
All right, guys. Well, not all round of 8 games are going to be made equally, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sign of how strong Light is moving forward. And in a lot of ways, this makes the round of 4 even more exciting. Best versus Light. Are you kidding me?
That'll actually
be amazing.
That'll be
This
one
is
of the
gonna be
best
so
TVPs we've ever seen.
Ever. Yeah.
They are perfectly matched. They play all the time. They know everything about each other. That is an unbelievable match. An unbelievable match. I can't wait for that.
I think it's really cool that Jaedong got as deep in here as he did. But look, I mean, the reality is he just didn't have the pieces to the puzzle for the matchup. And I think it's going to be tough, man. You know, a lot of the other Terrans that we have that perform well, they're a little bit more creative. They kind of play a style that plays around the kind of traditional, pressure play, trying to push. Basically the way the Light plays. Light is so good at that, he's probably never going to not play like that. But as long as, there are players like Light in tournaments like this, Jaedong is always going to have that issue that he's going to have to overcome. And whether it's he tries to cheese through it or play unorthodox, or he tries to power through it and meet him in his own game, it's going to be something that will prevent players from Jaedong ever advancing to the finals as long as there is, someone like that standing in his way.
Yeah. Light is just the ultimate brick wall to him, unfortunately. But can't wait for that next match. Obviously, we have another couple great matches coming up. You and I have really been looking forward to the next match. That'll be on next week between rain and snow. Which form of precipitation is going to be the strongest? That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, an old ASL Finals rematch for that. We're going to have a couple days off, guys. We are going to be releasing the episodes at the same time. Same days as before, so just be ready. Remember to avoid spoilers if you don't want to have next week spoiled. There's about 2 days before the first match is uploaded, maybe about 36 hours, right?
Mm-hmm. 36.
Something like that. Okay. Sign up for the Patreon, guys. We love you, and we will see you in a couple days. Bye-bye.